shot Paul Lewis through and through. The angels laid him away. The angels laid him away. Laid Paul Lewis 6 feet under the clay. The angels laid him away. Oh, kind friends, oh, ain't it hard? Saw Paul Lewis in the old graveyard. The angels laid him away. The angels laid him away. Ain't Paul Lewis 6 feet under the grave? Angels laid him away. When the people heard he's dead, all the people they dressed in red. Angels laid him away. The angels laid him away. Laid Paul Lewis 6 feet under the clay. The angels laid him away. The angels laid him away. Laid Paul Lewis 6 feet under the clay. The angels laid him away. The angels laid him away. Laid Paul Lewis 6 feet under the clay. The angels laid him away. The angels laid him away. Laid Paul Lewis 6 feet under the clay. The angels laid him away. Thank you all. So we're going to do a first song we can sing along with. This isn't actually an old traditional tune, but it's got made famous by Ry Cooder. So Ry Cooder was actually one of my first influences on in blues. There's a film called Paris, Texas. Anyone seen Paris, Texas? By Wim Wenders, and so it's basically it used to come on really odd times. That and Jewel by Steven Spielberg, but for some reason had no relation to each other. But anyway, but they used to come on a lot of times, like late at night, and when I was a kid, and they're basically this sort of scene where Harry Dean Stanton walks across the desert, and there's this slide comes in. It's a beautiful kind of like a sort of and it had this sort of sound like that. And as a kid, I kind of thought, what the hell's that? Yeah, that's so beautiful. So it kind of got really interested in the slide guitar. And so this is, and we'll play a bit of slide guitar later on, but this is a little song called Jesus on the Main Line. And the chorus you can actually sing along with. And it kind of goes... Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Won't you call him up, tell him what you want. So we try that. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Won't you call him up, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Won't you call him up, tell him what you want. So if you want to sing along, it comes after every second verse. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Won't you call him up, tell him what you want. The line ain't never busy, tell him what you want. The line ain't never busy, tell him what you want. The line ain't never busy, tell him what you want. Won't you call him up, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. If you call him up, tell him what you want. If you're low in trouble, tell him what you want. If you're low down in trouble, tell him what you want. If you're low down in trouble, tell him what you want. You can call him up and tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. You can call him up, tell him what you want. Very hard double bass there. Let's hear a bit of Shawnee on there. Shawnee on drums. on that main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Call him up and tell him what you want. If you're poor and hungry, tell him what you want. If you're poor and hungry, tell him what you want. If you're poor and hungry, tell him what you want. You can call him up and tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. You call him up, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. You can call him up, tell him what you want. Everybody now. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on that main line, tell him what you want. You can call him up and tell him what you want. Thank you. I think we were touched by the Lord in that solo, I think, Corey.
The Lord, yes.
So I'm going to do a little song called Jesus Met the Woman at the Wells. This is it's actually a song I heard by Charlie Parr. Has anyone heard of Charlie Parr around here? Yeah. I actually played a gig with him at the Gov, and he was like the most humblest character you ever meet, I think. And he kind of shambled onto stage, and everyone thought he was a guitar tech, and he was the main guy. But he's a blues man from Minnesota, kind of hence a hat, and yeah, he's amazing. But this is a little song called "Jesus Met the Woman at the Well." This will feature solos by Corey and Shawnee as well. So
another one.
Shawnee's quite a new addition to the band. He's been with us for about, I don't know, less than a year, I think.
Yeah,
so,
coming up on 12 months.
We had to get him in because Corey and I was kind of tired of being the eye candy of the band. And we thought, well, it's time to pass the mantle on.
I learned from the best.
But actually, we did a recording recently on ukulele. I won't say that too loud. But he actually recorded with us as well. Not only is he eye candy, he's ear candy as well. So it's he's but more eye candy.
That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said.
Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Told everything she had done. Said, woman, woman, have 5 husbands. Woman, woman, have 5 husbands. Woman, woman, have 5 husbands. One of them knows that you're own. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Told everything she had done. Woman, woman, have 5 husbands. Woman, woman, have 5 husbands. Woman, woman, have 5 husbands. One of them knows not your own. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Told everything she had done. Tell me about it, Corey. Corey Hart, double bass there. Shawnee on drums. Shawnee on drums there. Run, 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 run after him. Run, 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 run after him. Run, 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 run after met the woman at the well, well, well. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Told everything she had done. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Everybody now. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Told everything she had done. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Jesus met the woman at the well, well, well. Told everything she had done. I love how we when we do a sound check, we say, "Oh, we're going to start on this beat," and then it never starts or ends or whatever. The same. It's great. I love it. It's made up on the spot. Totally. We don't know what we're doing, so we just go with it.
Maybe the rehearsals are what we're not going to do. So it's a process of elimination.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That sounded great. No, we can't do that.
Yeah, I'll be teaching about a 12 bar later in the second set, but I won't be doing a 12 bar to show you it. So it's going to be interesting. So yeah. So this next song is a song by Memphis Minnie. So Memphis Minnie is one of my favorite blues songwriters. She wrote about 150 songs in her life, and absolutely amazing player. But this song's actually called "When the Levee Breaks." This is actually Led Zeppelin did a version of this song, and it's about the Mississippi flood of 1927, and had about 100 people died, and about 1,000 or so kind of got lost their homes as well. So there's a song called "Backwater Blues," and Mississippi Heavy Water Blues by Barbecue Bob. Always love the blues names; they're such classics. So this is a little song called "When the Levee Breaks," and Memphis Minnie was hardcore, like a real hardcore lady, and apparently she just carried guns, flick knives, everything, dynamite, things like that. You didn't mess with that woman. So this is actually an open tuning as well. I go through a bit of a nerd phase just to show you a bit of a nerd guitar thing. Anyone know what an open tuning is? Oh, there you go, a couple. Yeah. What an open tuning is basically is when you tune a guitar to a chord. This is a G chord, like that. So the idea is basically that you can actually play guitar. It's actually probably the simplest way of playing guitar because you can actually just play one chord like that. And you can actually play one chord songs. If you want to play 3 chord songs, which is the 1-4-5, or the kind of classic 3 chords and the truth country songs, that first finger across the 5th fret, and then open, and then 7th fret, 5th fret, open. So the idea of the open tuning is basically to make it simplified for people to learn guitar. So essentially all you needed was kind of one finger. So my classic example of how this works. How was this joke? Probably about 6 years, probably. That's probably his birthday. Happy birthday, this joke. Poor Corey has to pretend he's actually heard it for the first time ever. But basically the idea is that you could basically play guitar by... So back in the day, we had things like corn threshing accidents, and so people would lose limbs. So you could still play guitar by slapping your stump over the top of the 5th fret and 7th fret. And it kind of made it still accessible for people to play. So, and that's kind of what a slide does as well. This is kind of one finger, really. So if you had one finger left after your corn accident, you could go open 5th fret, 7th fret, like that. And that's the guitar. And that's pretty much, things like... right, or, Sweet Home Alabama. And all those other meaningful songs. So there's basically all those simple 3 chord songs you could kind of play. And even country music, if you really wanted to. If you want to lose all your friends, you could basically just do that. There's your country, like that. I've got to be careful with actually insulting other musical genres because we did a gig and we do a jazz joke every year at the Fringe. And we did it one year, and there's a jazz reviewer in the audience, and he sort of marked us down a few points for this particular joke. In fact, I don't tell the joke anymore, so if you do want to hear it, I'll be at the Skips behind the pub about about 7:30. I can hand out the jokes for free.
Dodgy jokes. Those are the dodgy jokes.
He came again actually the following year as well, and I had the joke about the joke, and I think he still marked us down a point. So these jazz people, they're humorless. But yes, I'll tell you the joke one day. There's no jazz reviewers in the audience now, is there? Probably still here. So anyway, this is when the levee breaks. In open G. This is open G major. If you want to make open G minor, do you know the difference between a major chord and minor chord? Anyone? Flat and third. We're all very good. So you get out. You're probably, if you know that, you're the jazz reviewer. You might want to get out. Only jazz people know this. But a major chord is a kind of happy chord. So that's a happy chord. And then if I flatten this third, like you said, yeah, very good, very good. You get a hear that? That minor chord. That's really kind of dark and depressing. So we won't go there. We'll go back to the major chord, and because oddly enough, blues isn't actually sad music. It's not musically a sad music. Actually, the chords are quite happy, and the reason for that, because it is history of blues, and I can keep rambling on like this, is it's quite an interesting story. Basically, well, for me, there was basically the idea is that the plantation owners, back in the slave times, they didn't want the slaves to play sad music. So they all kind of banned them from playing sad music because they wanted to sort of pretend that they were having a great time being a slave, as you would. And so they used to play this music, and they'd have these kind of upbeat sort of sounds like that, you know, in what they call seventh chords, but blues chords. And so the plantation owner would think they were actually having a good time. But actually underneath it all, there's a blues scale, this thing here, which is kind of a minor, sad scale. So how they basically communicate between each plantation of having a really crap time would basically they'd use the scale to sing between plantations and use notes like this, which isn't quite a happy note. It's actually called the Nota del Diablo, that one there. So the devil's note. That's in the next set. But that's basically how they worked it out. And the reason why they called it the devil's note because it didn't really conform to Western music. It sort of had this weird African sort of feel. But that's the note, that flat 5. So yeah, so underneath all this happy music was basically the lyrics and the communication between plantations. So that's why blues is kind of happy on the surface, and then it's kind of quite dark, which is why I don't play weddings anymore, because when I used to get from your weddings, I would basically play this music. And the people that booked me would be basically all the way on the other side of the field signing things, and the rest of it would be like you guys thinking, why is there some guy singing about death and blues and drugs and alcohol at a wedding? Anyway, this is When the Levee Breaks. coming, levee's gonna break. Rain keeps coming, levee's gonna break. Put my people, wash my people away. Mean old levee caused me to weep and moan. Mean old levee caused me to weep and moan. For my people and my happy home. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to this little beast. Who's seen a resonator guitar before? You would have seen one on the cover of Dire Straits' album. Was it Money for Nothing? I think it was Money for Nothing. And so basically the idea of a resonator guitar is it basically resonates and it's like a speaker cone. So it'd be like the speaker at your home. The sound goes around the guitar and then comes out through that big speaker in the middle. So the idea is basically that you could play the resonator guitar without actually having any amplification. So this is the days before electric amps. So if Kev kindly turns the sound off, I can actually, you can still hear that resonating sound. So So this one's actually made. Thank you, Kev. Kev on sound. Please give him a massive round of applause. He's our fourth Beatle. He's Ringo, and no one wanted Ringo, so he got him. So it's, apart from Shawnee.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, so you have to do the new joke now. Actually, now Shawnee's here. So this is basically made locally by a guy called Don Morrison. Anyone know who Don Morrison is? Around this, yeah. So this is actually made out of an old chicken shed door. So this is a galvanized iron chicken shed type thing. So and if you can kind of late at night when I play it in my room, you can still hear the chicken inside, or maybe a ghost of a chicken inside, but it still lays me eggs every morning, which is, so I don't argue. But this is we're going to do a little song by Blind Willie Johnson. So Blind Willie Johnson is another one of my favourite blues players. His story is basically he was actually blind, wasn't naturally blind. So a lot of the people who are blind and musicians kind of were born like that. And it's also why they became blues musicians, because all they had, they couldn't work in the field, so they became musicians basically. And this guy was actually his stepmother had a fight with his dad, and so the stepmother threw lye water in his face and actually blinded him from that. So it wasn't too great a start to life, and he ended up basically busking on the streets with his wife, and probably one of the most sort of influential blues players that ever happened. Basically, was Blind Willie Johnson. So definitely Google him when you get home. But he was also a religious man. He was a preacher as well, and this is a song called "God Moves on the Water." This is actually a song about the Titanic. It goes a lot like this. God is on the water, he's on the water, he's on the water, and people run and pray. God is on the water, he's on the water, he's on the water, and people run and pray. Year was 1912, they were the 14th day. Titanic struck an iceberg, people run and pray. God is on the water. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going to do a one tune of this set, and then we'll have a little break, and we'll go get some Wheaty beers. So thanks to the Wheaty for putting this on as well. It's such an awesome venue to play at. We love it. Yes. Wheaty is one of the venues that kind of helped us out during COVID as well. We sort of always remember the venues that helped. And we did a few live streams here as well, which is like there's no one here at all, which is amazing. And it's just one of our usual gigs. And oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Sean. Yeah, came out of the blue, that one. That was good. You're on the ball. So there's no difference. We didn't notice difference. But they actually sold beers in cans. So these big kind of what are they called again? What are those things called, Ria? Was that the Crowlers? That's right, Crowlers. Yeah. Please thank Ria on the door over there as well. The lovely Ria. Yeah, Crowlers. That's right. There were these massive cans of beer that were pretty awesome. But yeah, there's a few venues that really helped us out, musicians out during that time, and we played one gig at NOLA, and they kept music going until the very last time that they could actually keep going at putting music on, and then they sent us away with a big roll of toilet roll, because that time it was like gold.
It's better than free beers, free toilet roll.
It was, yeah, it was at that time.
There was a gig we did, and it was a wedding, but it was at the stage where it was opening up, and you still couldn't dance. So we had this wedding couple, and they really wanted to do their dance. Do you remember that?
That's right.
And the waiters were trying to keep them from dancing, make them sit down. But it was a boycott in the end, and they got up and danced. It was good.
Well, the lady was
Such
walking
old
around.
times.
She was dancing as she was walking, saying, "That's the way I walk. I walk." My
That's right. Yeah.
I always remember leaving those toilet rolls in the back of my Beetle, and someone said you shouldn't leave the toilet roll in the back of the Beetle. They'll break in and steal it. They wouldn't actually, they'd leave the Beetle, but they'd actually get the toilet roll. So it's, so I'm going to do one last tune. This is a song by Sun House, a song called Death Letter Blues. And so Sun House was another of these people who sort of battled between the God and the devil thing. He was a kind of a preacher, and then he wasn't a preacher, and then he was a preacher, and then he wasn't a preacher. So he was kind of a preacher when he wasn't playing blues. And this is one of his tunes. It's a song about back in the day, you used to kind of receive a letter if someone you know had actually died. You'd get kind of a letter in the mail, and this is a song about his wife. So we'll finish on this song, and then we'll be back for the Devil's set after this. Sean comes back in a massive Beelzebub suit. It's red leather. It's worth seeing.
It's sexy for a Sunday.
A bit sexy for a Sunday, you're right. But yeah. how do you reckon it read? Said the girl love's dead. I got a letter this morning. How do you reckon it read? Said hurry, hurry, girl, you love is dead. Backed up my suitcase down the road. By the time I got there, she was laying on the cooling board. I backed up my suitcase, head up down the road. By the time I got there, she was laying on the cooling board. Looked up right close, looked down her face. Said, farewell, honey, she's just been there. Well, I looked up her clothes and looked down on her face. Said, farewell, farewell, I see you Judgment Day. Lord have mercy on my wicked soul. Mistreat your honey enough for my way to go. Lord have mercy on my wicked soul. Lord have mercy on my wicked soul. Cried last night, the night before. Got a strange to live my morale. I'm crying no more while I cried last night, cried the night before. Change where I'm living my morale, I won't cry no more. Baby, better than I did myself. Love you, baby, better than I did myself. Love you, baby, better than I did myself. You can't have me, you can't have nobody else. So hard to love someone that don't love you. Ain't no satisfaction no matter what you do. It's so hard to love someone that don't love you. No satisfaction no matter what you do. 10,000 people got around burying ground. Did no love till they laid it down. There were 10,000 people got around the burying ground. Did no love until they laid her down. Don't only love woman in my life. My mother, my sister, my kid girl, and my wife. Well, I thought I would love for women in my life. My mother, my sister, my kid girl, and my wife. My mother, my sister, my kid girl, and my wife. My mother, my sister, my kid girl, my wife. time. Thank you very much. That's the end of the first set. We'll be back after this. So grab yourself a drink at the bar and we'll be back very soon. Thank you.